Welcome to Washington East to West Sports. This is episode 55. I am Matt Beatty, joined alongside, as usual, by Sean Beatty and Kevin Ardall. If you want to get involved in the show, go ahead and tweet us. I am at Beatty_Matt. Sean is at Sean_Beatty. Kev's at Kesley, the first name believes being a 3. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you think. Follow our page on the Eli Network. Let's get to some quick topics from around Washington. So the Seattle Sounders, they got a 1-0 loss on the 18th, but that's not really the big game. Right after we recorded the podcast, the Sounders were playing in the League's Cup, and right after we got done recording, Raul Ruidiaz scored the only goal in stoppage time, 1-0 over Santos Laguna, and they are playing in the finals tomorrow against Leon, or today, since you're watching on Wednesday. It is at 7 p.m. It is on ESPN2, so please support the Seattle Sounders. They go for the League's Cup title. So, Kevin, thank you for your blessing once again.
You're welcome. I told you. I told you they were going to win that. And they had a crazy final, with that guy going up to the goal at the last second and getting it in. Everybody going crazy. That was me. You're all welcome. So.
And so they will be playing in Vegas at Allegiant Stadium today. So check them out on ESPN2. They also will be taking on Kansas City at 4 p.m. In Kansas City, I believe on Sunday. So, maybe if you want to flip between right after the Seahawks game, just flip over to FS1 to watch these Sounders. And then in WNBA action, the Storm finished off their regular season with a 94-85 win over the Phoenix Mercury. They have a first round bye, and how that works is they are the 4 seed. The two teams, I think there's 2 teams playing a 1-game playoff, and then the Storm will play them in a 1-game playoff hosting.
There's 4 teams. There's 4 teams.
Yeah.
And they get the highest seed.
So they'll be playing a 1-game playoff to get into a 5-game semifinal series against, I think it depends on who wins the other one.
Probably Phoenix.
But, yeah. So that'll be interesting to see how the Storm do. So we'll find out when they play. I believe that the first playoff games are this weekend, so we'll find out by this weekend.
They're both Thursday.
Oh, they're both Thursday. Okay, well, sweet. So we will know who this Storm are playing after Thursday. So check that out for all the up-to-date information. Storm.WNBA.com.
So just so you know, you guys know behind the scenes of the podcast, I warned these 2 guys I didn't do much prep for this episode, but I did listen to a WNBA podcast, so I guess I lied.
Wow.
So I knew that info.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Give them a plug real quick.
And so the plug, they're the 538 podcast, the sports one, and they were this week was all about the WNBA. So I learned a lot about the WNBA this weekend, or just today actually. So
that is impressive. So for all your WNBA information, listen to Sean and check out 538 podcast.
Connecticut's good. There you go.
Connecticut's really very good. Yeah, they're very good. And then we have some hockey action. Finally, on Sunday, the Kraken will be taking on the Calgary Flames in Spokane for their first official game. Doesn't count, but it is a game that they will actually be playing another team in, and they have begun training camp on Thursday. So get ready to support the Seattle Kraken. Their jerseys went on sale on the 15th, and from what I've read, they are setting records for jersey sales. So get yourself a sweet light blue home or a white away jersey, whatever you prefer. I know that Kevin's probably going to get a geeky jersey because that's his favorite name. So, maybe we'll have to get one for Christmas or something on the podcast. But Sean, are you planning on taking Kevin to a game with some of your tickets, or how's that working?
We'll see. We'll see how into it Kevin gets.
I'll try to get into it as best, We'll start learning and stuff. It also depends on with my work schedule. So to start out, it might be a little slow just because my place of work is understaffed. So
they're on ESPN, ABC, ESPN, and Plus and Hulu this year. So
if they're on ESPN Plus, I can watch it.
And they're also on Root any other time. So
yes.
That's where you can find them just regularly, unless they're on a nationally televised game on Hulu or ESPN Plus or ESPN or TNT. So Yeah, get ready for some Kraken hockey. I believe that the preseason game is en route, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm not sure if preseason games are
that I
broadcast.
don't know. Yeah, I'm not
So,
sure about that.
It is on Sunday. It is at 6:00. So, you'll have a full day on Sunday. You can watch the Seahawks, then you can watch the Sounders, and then you can watch the Kraken. So that's a full day right there. That's triple sports for you right there on that Sunday. So get ready for some sports action on Sunday. But let's talk about some sports that has been happening. I need to get a score update from somebody. I was watching the Mariners game before we got on the air, and it's 4-2 Mariners, top of the 8th against the Oakland Athletics in Oakland. So let's talk about those Seattle Mariners this past week. So they were hosting the Boston Red Sox last week, 8-4 loss on Tuesday, 9-4 loss in 10 on Wednesday. That was a tough loss to watch. Friday they went to Kansas City for a 3-game series. They won 6-2 in the opener, lost 8-1 on Saturday, won 7-1 to win the series on Sunday. Then yesterday they were in Oakland. They won 4-2. Tyler Anderson with a nice day on the mound, and they are currently winning 4-2 against the Oakland Athletics. So, Kevin, what have you thought of the Seattle Mariners so far this last week? Oh, one thumb down.
I thought I froze, Kevin. I was on a different tab, you jerk.
They really, it sucks because like they needed to at least win that Boston series. Like, if anything, try for the sweep, but at the same time too, Boston's a good team and they're a better team than us currently at the moment. So it's like pulling a sweep off against a potential playoff team is hard unless it's the A's apparently. Like, I don't know what the heck's going on with that. And then winning the series against Kansas City was nice. I would have preferred a sweep since Kansas City is meh.
You can say they're bad. You can say they're bad.
I don't want to say that because they have beaten good teams. They swept the
Kevin, every team wins.
Astros earlier in the series.
Every team wins like 50 games a year. I mean, they're good.
I'd say they're just meh. They're not good. They're like below good. They're just meh. But they're not like Detroit.
Well, so. Kevin, they're 5 games behind Detroit.
Are they? Oh shit! Maybe
Detroit is actually almost 500, which that's a whole different other thing.
Let me see. Look here. Kansas City is 1683. Oh god. These are not Texas. Let's do that.
Yeah,
or Baltimore. Holy god. I just saw Baltimore in Arizona. Yeah.
Remember, we lost a series to Baltimore, and don't look at Arizona. We lost to them also. So,
yeah.
That's what I would say.
We can beat the A's. I don't get it.
They can lose to Boston, but you can't lose those series to Baltimore and Arizona.
That's true. It's true. So I'm glad they at least, won the series against Kansas City. As I was texting to Sean, and I think I put it in our group chat. Apparently, we pissed off Jared Kelenic because he went apeshit this past week. So good for Jared Kelenic. It was really nice to see that bat pop. I hope he continues it up and just has a nice, strong finish to the end of the year. And then just grinds this off season to just work on the stuff that he needs to improve at. And I think he will. I think he's hungry enough, and I think this team wants success enough to where I think he has that vision of him and Julio just being like the Griffey, like Alex Rodriguez face of like this franchise, or Buhner or whatever you want to put in there. But right, like I would say Griffey Johnson, but Johnson was a pitcher. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. Anywho, so overall, I expected better, but I know Boston's a good team. So the fact that they took one from them was, okay, I guess. But they're still 3 in a game. I mean, they're 3.5 games out still. So they're still in it technically. And especially if they beat the A's, that's good for them. But they need things to kind of go their way. And I just don't see that happening. So I'll pass it off.
Sean, what do you think?
I think kind of the opposite. I mean, like Kevin said, Boston's better team than us. So losing 2 out of 3, one going to extras is fine. I mean, it sucked to lose that one in the extras the way they did, but like again, Boston is better than you right now. But that's the goal. But they beat Kansas City. So or won the series in Kansas City. So they did the 2 things that they were expected. And I think it was a positive because like last week, I was like, I want the young future kids to do well. And Logan Gilbert was amazing in his start this week. And Kevin said Jared Kelenic killed it. So the young kids who are going to be here for a long haul played really well. They beat the team they were supposed to and had a pretty close series against the Boston team who's better than them right now. So the opposite of last week, I think this week was kind of more indicative of what it was. And that's why I was so pissed 2 weeks ago when they lost 3 out of 4 to the same Kansas City Royals team. You can't give up series like that. But this week itself, these 7 games were good. Young kids played well and they beat the teams they're supposed to.
Yeah, I can't complain about this last week. Boston is a good team, like Sean said. To take 2 out of 3 from Kansas City is good. Started off well against Oakland so far, but it's 2 games left after tonight, assuming they win tonight, which is still not a guarantee. They're 3.5 back. They're not out of it. But it's very unlikely. And I'm looking at run differential right now, and the Mariners just kind of stick out like a sore thumb in this race for the wild card with their -60 run differential compared to all the teams above them who have a positive run differential. So it seems very unlikely. Right now, what I'm just kind of looking at is which players would I hope the Mariners keep around next season. Because, you're going to have guys come up. You guys have talked about the prospects that they have. It's really just a matter of who else makes this team around those guys that you plan on building around for the future. So we've talked about Kikuchi. I think it's, very, very unlikely that they would bring him back. I really like Chris Flexen. I hope he finds a place on this team. I don't really see a reason why they would not want him to be on this team.
He's got another year on this contract.
So I know, but there's that doesn't necessarily mean they are going to keep him. James Paxton is an interesting thing. He's would he want to come back? Would they sign him to a cheap deal? Like, would he be the same guy? Like, I don't know. That's a great question. I've seen a lot of things about Jake Fraley, Jake Bowers. I'm not really sure which one of those guys they would keep, if either of them. You guys don't seem to like either of them.
Dylan Moore is your utility guy. Oh no, those 2 other guys can go away.
I mean, I think that Fraley has at least earned a shot at the roster. I don't necessarily know if he'll make the roster, but I think he's earned a shot at the roster.
Does he? Well, let's talk about it. What has he done to earn a spot at the roster?
I mean, I don't have numbers in front of me, but I think that he has played well enough this season, shown flashes of how good he can be to earn a chance to make this roster next year.
And what I'm saying is like that's fine for a player like that, but Dylan Moore has been better and plays more positions would be my counter.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, again, there's so much that can happen between now and next season. Like it's hard to project everything.
What I'm saying is just go after every big time free agent in the offseason. Get anybody that is a proven player that will sign here, and then you sort out players. Then you sort out, like, everyone's like, what do we do with JP? I'm like, if Carlos Correa is signing up to come here, you tell JP to go wherever he wants. Like, go to second, go wherever, but Carlos Correa is going to play shortstop. What I mean? You've got to get an influx of proven talent in here, and then you could let the chips fall where they may at this point, because the wave is coming, and you better get these guys locked in now, these veteran, like, good players in now to help facilitate these younger kids too. But get anybody that you can to get here. Like, people like sign Trevor Story and Correa. They're like, we don't need 2 shortstops. I'm like, figure it out. But if they both want to come to Seattle, you'll figure it out. If both those bats want to come bat 2-3 in the lineup, then I will sign me up. Yeah, like, I'm not going to complain about it.
I would be shocked if both of them wanted to.
That's what I'm saying. People are you only have to go after one. I'm like, go after everybody. Like, you need more bats.
I feel like if they do retain Kyle Seager, Corey Seager is a very possible option.
They still gotta mend a lot of Kyle Seager fences, though.
They have to mend some Kyle Seager fences, but if he is willing to stick around, I think that makes it much easier for them to get Corey Seager to come to Seattle. Just because, hey, you want to play with your brother? Come on up here. We've got a team that's coming up.
I don't think Corey comes here unless his brother is still on the team.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I'm saying if Kyle's still on the team, I think Corey would be
I think you have to sign. Well, the issue is, Matthew, do you sign Kyle to like a 3-year extension? Because I think that's the only way Corey is coming. He's not going to sign a 5-year or 6-year deal to play 1 year with his brother.
Again, yeah, I would say I personally think that Kyle is such a he's like the franchise player at this point in terms of how long he's been on the team, how well he's played for the team despite they're not having success. I think if he wants to stick around, he has earned the money. I don't know logistically or contractual wise how much you want to give him.
Not past.
But I mean, he's not declining. Is he declining in your opinion?
Yeah, he is. But I mean, like, he's 31. Like, that's happening. The question is, I'm not against bringing him back. The question is, how much does he want to come back for 3 more years?
Fair. And
I'm not paying him market value third baseman price. I'm not doing that.
I mean, I'm not an MLB contractual expert, so I'll let you guys deal with any of that. I think that Kyle Seager has earned himself a spot on this team if he wants to stick around on this team. That is what I am saying.
We do not have another third baseman, so I'm down for him to play because, I mean, we don't have one right now.
And then in terms of the pitchers on the roster, I mean, obviously Logan Gilbert's going to be there. I talked about Flex, and we've already talked about Kikuchi, but then, you've got some starting spots that are probably going to be open. Justin Dunn, is Tyler Anderson going to be wanting to stay here? There's a lot of questions about, who fills out that rotation. So I think
big arm.
I think the team can come together. And I agree with you, Sean, like, let's spend some money, but history has shown us they don't really do that. So I just want to see it. I want to see it.
History was shown that Stanton was the big proponent of not signing people because he was the business and baseball operations guy. He was the money guy and the baseball guy. Now Jerry Dipoto has the checkbook. Well, Jerry Dipoto, it's been documented. Jerry Dipoto was going to sign Taijuan Walker, and Stanton said no last year. He bragged about it in that Roto meeting. He bragged about nixing that deal and be like, oh, we're gonna lowball him and give him only 1 year because no one's gonna give him 2 years, and the Mets gave him 2 years. Like, Jerry's wanted to make moves. I can't say he's wanted to make like, Tatis splashes or anything, like going after Machado, players. I can't say to that effect, but I know he has been limited and pinched by the uppers at this management. We'll see how much he's been pinched, but I think he's more willing to spend, and if he's given the chance to spend, he will.
I really hope so. Because that would be great to have some big names in Seattle. And
keep in mind too, if they don't come, that isn't an indictment on Jerry. Ultimately the player has to sign on the dotted line. Jerry can't force them to sign. I just want them to be involved.
But you've got to make them an offer that they want to sign.
I think Jerry will definitely make an offer. People are gonna be like, well, he failed because he didn't get anybody. I'm like, well, they still have to sign the deal. Like, it's not up to Jerry to like, I'll give you whatever you want. But at the end of the day, if a player doesn't want to come to Seattle, he's not going to come to Seattle. Like,
yeah, and Jerry needs to sell them on coming to Seattle by a contract, and we are going to win. That is.
Well, yeah, but like Correa's already rumored and looking to go back to Houston. I mean, how are you going to sell Houston over Seattle right now?
I mean, we're not going to get into that because there's a bunch of things we can talk about. But
and all I'm saying is, like, don't judge simply Jerry on like he didn't get Noah Syndergaard, Trevor Story, and Correa. I'm like, I just wanted to be in the conversations and like sign some people. He doesn't have to sign like every blockbuster people that are like, I've seen people like sign three all-star players, and I'm like, dude, like every team wants to sign 3 all-star players, and there's only like 8 of them.
Honestly, I like just one. Really.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, there's only 8 of them on the block this year, and you want the Mariners to get like almost half. Like, that's not realistic. Like, just get one and be in the conversation for like another. That's all I really want. Like,
and then you've also got a plan for Julio next year and some of your guys in the minors
and Kirby coming up at the end of the year.
So I mean, there's hopefully this team will maybe not be a complete flip of what it is right now, but hopefully there will be some turnover and it will be for the better. But if we do sign some all-stars, that would be great for the 2023 Major League Baseball All-Star Game that is coming to Seattle. This broke right before our show last week, but we didn't really get to it, so we'll talk about it right now. So the last time the Mariners hosted the All-Star Game was in 2001, and Sean and I were at the Home Run Derby in 2001. We did not go to the All-Star Game. Our parents only got tickets for the Home Run Derby. It would have been cool because it was like Cal Ripken's final All-Star game. That would have been cool to see, but that was also when they were pretty good and had a bunch of All-Stars. But suffice to say, the Home Run Derby was pretty great, and it was, we were lower 300 level, so we got some baseballs up there. Nothing that really came at us though, unless I'm remembering incorrectly.
We were I want to say like 10 rows back in the 300, so that would have been a pretty good shot. Giambi got close a couple times.
Yeah, Giambi got close a few times, but
that would have been a heck of a shot.
Yeah, that's true. But how excited are you guys for the All-Star Game coming back to Seattle? I mean, I'll start. I mean, obviously the economic impact is going to be pretty great because you're going to have a lot of TV money, a lot of players converging, all the sort of business that comes with hosting an All-Star Game. But the fact that the Mariners are finally getting it about 22 years later is pretty cool, and it seems like they've been on this 22-year cycle of hosting the All-Star Game. So the weather in July in Seattle is usually pretty great, so really can't beat that. So hopefully T-Mobile Park will show how great it is, and hopefully the show will be good as well on the field. And the ballpark at the Mariners is the only problem is it's not really the greatest for home run derby because left field. I mean, Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge, they can hit it to that level above the bullpen, but left field is kind of just empty for baseballs, except for over the scoreboard down the line. And then center field, you can, there are guys that obviously can do that, Pete Alonso, stuff like that. But right field is where you're really going to want to be at the home run derby. You've got all that area in right field. If you want to get a baseball, that's where you're going to want to sit.
I'm down to see Shohei and Juan Soto hit bombs above the Hit Cafe.
Absolutely. Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm probably going to definitely try to do my best to get to one of them, if not both. Especially it being down the line. And I believe they've already mentioned that they are combining with Lumen Field to hold the event. So I don't know if that just means like the parking garage and then, or like use Touchdown City as.
In the past, Kevin, they used Touchdown City as part of like their festivities.
Gotcha.
So I assume that's
to have like extracurricular activities and stuff like that. But no, it's badass. It's good for the city. It'd be nice to, hopefully by then, maybe we have some Mariner All-Stars, Mr. Julio, and hopefully Kelenic and
home run derby. Kelenic.
That's all.
Well, I would say probably more Julio than, Julio's just bombing stuff out right now. But if Kelenic gets things around, like Kelenic too he's got the power to do it. So
apparently the host city has at least one guy, right? Usually.
Yeah. If I were to guess anybody like pre right now, 2 years, I would say
home run derby. No, they don't have to.
I mean, wasn't it this year? Wasn't it Trevor Story for the Rockies?
Like Trevor Story's like legit. He's not like shoehorned in. Like Trevor Story's
yeah.
That dude hits bombs. Yeah.
But no, it'd be a great time. Like, especially, the city has deserved something like that for a long time. Like because every time everybody always talks about having the Super Bowl here, and then they're like, oh, it's not big enough, like type of deal, which I get. It's the Super Bowl. Like the Super Bowl is like a way step higher than All-Stars.
Seawald's pumped. Strikes out the 8th. Oh man. Oh, he said a bad word. Okay, sorry.
Oh, sea monster.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it should be fun. I will, like I said, I'm going to do anything in my power to get to that game. I don't care if it costs me like $400 for a seat. I'll probably try to.
Probably got
it. It probably will. Yeah, and that'll be for like the high ups, like in fucking nowhere. But I'll take it. So yeah, I'm excited.
Sean?
Oh yeah, you guys nailed it. It's just fun to, having been there last time, seeing like the pitching machines, and you can like step in the box. I remember against like Pedro Martinez, and you can like hold a bat, and it was like some virtual reality. It's probably a lot better now than it was even back then. So that was really cool. They had like some trivia with like a little diamond, and you could play a little like wiffle ball, all that stuff. It was really fun. So I think people are really gonna enjoy it. So even if you can't go, I don't think it's like the end of the world if you can't go and you can get tickets to the Touchdown City stuff. Go and do that because that's a lot of stuff for kids too. So it's fantastic.
Are you taking Nolan or?
That's 2 years away, I'm sure, but I don't know what's gonna happen in 2 years. Let's plan on it.
He'll be old enough for wiffle ball or t-ball at that point, I think.
There you go.
All right. Well, let's do one last thing. The Mariners have 11 games left, not including tonight. So they are at 81 wins right now. What do you guys think they're going to end up with in this final 11 games? So I'm just gonna
not including tonight. So 12 results left, 12 games left.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think the Mariners are probably gonna split. So I think they'll end up at 87 wins. I think that's pretty good for their expectations this year. They play the A's quite a few times down the stretch. So
yeah, all they do is play the A's and the Angels.
Yeah. So do I think they pass the A's? No, I think it's one game. I think A's edge them by one game, and my third place prediction was right. Sean, what do you think?
I say you said 86.
87.
87. I say because that's 6-6, right, for you?
Yep.
I say 89, and they finished ahead of Oakland. Yeah.
All right, Kevin, what do you think?
I'm looking up the Athletics remaining schedule because I know they play like half of it's against us. I'm guessing the other half is.
But we played Oakland pretty well like this year.
9-4 was what I heard on the broadcast when I was watching before.
Yeah, we play Oakland pretty well. So I have I'm not super scared of Oakland, and we should beat the Angels.
They have Houston, other than us.
Oh, Houston. So I mean, if they're playing Houston, there's a high chance that depending on if Houston has it locked up, Houston might not play all their boys on some of those games. So it'll be interesting to see. But as Sean kind of mentioned, we've kind of had Oakland's number this year. It's been kind of weird because
if we could play Oakland and Tampa Bay, we would be 120 games.
We just had the recipe. I don't know why. For those two teams, we just had the recipe to beat them this year. It was kind of crazy. The number one team in the AL, we were just we're just gonna slap them,
Yeah.
So I'll say I'm gonna go balls. I'm gonna say 90.
Oh
90.
Man!
Wow.
And they do pass the Athletics, but don't make the wild card.
Okay.
It's 5-2 now.
Oh man, what happened?
JP solo shot.
JP, I love you. Never change.
Dingers.
All right.
Dingers.
Well, tell us what you think of the Seattle Mariners, about Seattle hosting the All-Star game in 2023. Go ahead and tweet us. I'm at _Matt. Sean is at Sean_Betty. Kev is at Kev Believe. First name believes being a 3. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you think about the Mariners, about Seattle hosting the All-Star game. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow our page on the Eli Network. But let's talk about some Seattle Seahawks football. And, I thought we'd be having a different conversation, gentlemen, but we are having a sad conversation today. The Titans won 33-30 in overtime. I'm just going to run down the box score real quick. Russell Wilson, 22 of 31, 2 touchdowns, 343. Chris Carson, 13 carries, 31 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tyler Lockett, just a beautiful man, 8 catches, 178 yards, and a touchdown. Freddie Swain, 5 for 95 and a touchdown. DK Metcalf, 6 for 53. Defense side of the ball, Bobby Wagner, 20 tackles, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. Quandre Diggs, 10 tackles. DJ Reed, 9 tackles. And then on the Tennessee side of the ball, Ryan Tannehill, 27-40, 347 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Derrick Henry, 35 carries, 182 yards, 3 touchdowns. Tennessee receiving, Julio Jones, 6 catches, 128 yards. Derrick Henry, 6 catches, 55 yards. Defensively, Harold Landry had 7 tackles. Chris Jackson had 6. Janoris Jenkins had 6. And David Long had 6 tackles for Tennessee. So I am going to start. I was kind of watching this game a little bit before we got on the podcast, just some of the condensed version that we have. We don't have coaches film quite yet, unfortunately. We're figuring that out. Hopefully NFL Game Pass gets that together. So gentlemen, let's play the blame game. I saw Kevin's tweet blaming the defensive play calling right after the game. And we've had a couple days to ponder this. I don't know if Kevin has changed his opinion on this, but I feel like overtime was kind of just encapsulating of the entire game. Tennessee got the ball. The defense held up. They held up. They stopped them. Seahawks got the ball. Just could not seem to do anything on offense. Actually went backwards, minus 12 yards. And then that gave Tennessee a short field, and they took advantage and kicked a field goal. I said before this game that Derrick Henry was the best player on that team. I know Sean and Kevin will probably disagree, but I think he absolutely proved it during this game. He had 44% of the total yards, 100% of the touchdowns. So I think that was Derrick Henry's show. Ryan Tannehill was much better on play action. Now, granted, I will give credit to Ryan Tannehill. He didn't play bad. He played pretty good. AJ Brown dropped some.
He was the second highest graded player in NFL.
I know, I saw that. That's ridiculous, but
because he was really good. You're welcome, Derrick Henry.
Sure, he was, but yeah, I thought that Derrick Henry proved he's the best player on that team without a doubt. You guys have differences of opinion. I do not agree. Derrick Henry was clearly the best player on that team. And then in terms of the Seahawks offense, I think they are the blame game here. You know, we talked about Russ cooking. You guys want the passing percentage over the run. It was 38 pass run, so 63% of the time they passed the ball. So, you know, Russ had his chances to cook, and it was just a tale of two halves. They were 4 of 6 scoring on drives in the first half. Then they were 1 of 5 in the second half of overtime. They barely had the ball. They just couldn't really get anything going outside of that one Freddie Swain touchdown. And then time of possession just kind of tells the story. 42 minutes compared to 22 minutes. It wasn't a factor against Indianapolis because they were efficient. But, you know, if you're not going to have the ball as much, you've got to be efficient, and they just were not efficient in the second half. I'm not going to blame coaches or blame calling. I don't know who calls the plays. I have no proof of that. So I know you guys are probably going to blame Pete, but that's up to you. If you have proof, that's great, but I don't know who's calling the plays, so I'm not going to blame coaches. I can only blame the plays on the field, and I think this falls on Russell Wilson. He had 63% of the plays passing. He didn't do much with it. He kind of overthrew some guys. Some guys didn't make plays for him, absolutely, but I think this falls squarely on the offense. Kevin?
All right. We'll get into this a little bit. I know there's some things I'm going to leave for Sean because I know Sean wants to talk about a couple.
No, dude, you do your everything. I'll clean up.
Okay, so all right. First half of this game was what you kind of expected this game to be. Us pooping on that team. Because that defense is a hot pile of dog shit. And I'm talking about Tennessee. They're not good. Let's be honest. And yeah, they just kind of decided to just call it quits in the second half, and we're going to get into that a little bit more. Defensively, you can tell it's play calling one by PK. Well, okay, so Ken Norton Jr. is a cheerleader on the side. He says, "Yeah, go defense." And then he says, "Okay, the old man chewing the gum over there is the guy. He wants you to do this, this, and this, and he helps linebackers. You know, other than Bobby, because Bobby tells him what to do. But mainly because one, especially in the second half when we were getting our butts kicked, we were in base defense for most of it, and two high safeties, and literally we were just giving up chunks. Let's start with certain players. Defensive line. That O-line to begin with, you had their starting left tackle didn't play because he got hurt, and you only got 3 sacks. You had some quarterback like hits, but like you're going against, and then Saffold went out. You're going against nobody's on the left side, and you barely got home in the second half. What are we doing?
this defense, like that got so, everybody was like, oh, this defensive line. Even we were kind of, I was a little bit myself. I was like, oh, this defensive line kind of showed some life. I retract that because they went against a worse offensive line and did worse. So, yeah. And I'll let Sean go into the play calling about how it's. So when I'll just kind of summarize it real quick. When your offensive line goes out like that, they're going to run the ball, and they did. So you should be prepared for that. Derrick Henry had a good game. Is he the best player on that team? No. He got a 60-yard run because Jamal Adams doesn't know how to set the edge and doesn't know how to control his anxiousness playing in front of the 12th man, and charged instead of saying the edge and tried to go for a sack because he's an idiot and didn't realize it was a run play. And literally Derrick Henry juked him and went around, and then Mr. Diggs didn't take the right angle at him and went for 60 yards because of two idiots who don't know what they're doing but are getting paid high money to do it. Well, Diggs wants more money and then does that crap. And Diggs had other bad plays this game too. But Jamal Adams can't control his body with crap, as I said last week. Like, he needs to learn how to control that speed and that power to confine it to make himself a better player. Because it's literally costing us plays. It cost us a penalty at the end when he hit Tannehill in the head because he doesn't know how to go, like, and he has no excuse. Like, Pete's main thing, Pete literally put out a playbook for it and has a video on it that the NFL uses on how to tackle properly, on how to do sacks properly, about getting with the shoulder pads. So he can't say he did like it, like that's Pete's bread and butter for defense on tackling is tackling clean. So he has no excuses there. And literally that penalty, among other things, was one of the main key factors in what kind of led to the downfall of the Derrick Henry show pooping on us. Also the fact, Pete Carroll, how many times do you have to get Phillip Rivers to where you just get, like, it doesn't matter if you do two high safeties when they're dunking on you in the middle for 9 yards a carry. It just takes time away from Russell Wilson. And then he didn't have anything to do with 30 seconds left on the clock. Oh, goodness. How about play preventative 3 and out with single man, like, to where you cover that stuff in the middle. And then if they get stuff over the top and score, Russell Wilson, the better quarterback of the two, has, like a minute and a half to 2 minutes plus timeouts to go get you those points again. Oh, but that does no. Preventative. How did preventative work out? Oh, we lost. Yeah. So, and for the idiots that blame freaking Jason, what's his face, the kicker, for the missed PAT, like, be more pissed at this defense and the absolute hot garbage.
Still got to make that point.
I mean, yeah, you should. Don't get me wrong. But, like, the score at the half versus the score at the end, like, yes. Okay, so offensively, let's get into that a little bit. When the deep ball isn't, like, there needs to be, and this is why we really need coaches film, because I really want to go back and see, like, we're not even doing it enough. As I said last week, like, you need to involve, like, when the deep stuff isn't going there, which when it works, it's worked. And we saw that, like, Tyler Lockett is proving to everybody, to all the idiots like Vilma in the first week, that he is the number one receiver on this team. Period. He's way better than DK Metcalf. It's like DK, like, even showed, like, when he tried to do that tiptoe touchdown that, on the sideline, he couldn't get his feet down because he wasn't taught how to do it, because Doug taught Tyler how to do it. Anywho, going off on a tangent. There needs to be over the middle stuff as well, which we barely use the tight ends. Everett had one target, Will Disley had none. Like, you need to have routes there, and this could be on Russell too, and that's why it's hard to say who it is on the offense. But have stuff in the middle, like what they were doing to us in the second half, like the 8-9 yard plays of tight ends and stuff, or running backs running out there to get stuff when the deep stuff isn't there. And also, if Eskridge isn't there for fly sweeps, don't try fly sweeps. Just it didn't look great. Like you have your speed guy for a reason. Like all the fly sweeps just looked awful. So just do it when Eskridge gets back. But other than that, I don't want to see a fly sweep. Penalties. My God. I don't give a crap if DK can kick the shit out of me. I will fight that man if he doesn't get his shit to get. Like, you're going against a no-name DB from Tennessee and you're getting chippy with him, bro. Like, really? You're getting chippy with it. I didn't even know who the hell you're going against. You're getting chippy with him. And you're winning at the time. Like, what do you stop? Like, if anything, prove it with your play. Do what look at what Marshawn Lynch did. You see Marshawn Lynch getting all up in people's faces and shit like that. When he scored, he didn't want to, no, he get handshakes and like that. He let his body of work do the talking for him of how great he freaking was. Do that, DK Metcalf. Like, because literally so far, other than that one touchdown, you literally haven't really done, I mean, you've been okay, but like, it's been the Tyler Lockett show. And like, there's going to be times where they're going to, like, defenses are going to get smart and they're going to start doubling up Lockett. Luckily, they've been stupid enough to not do it yet, but they're going to eventually do it. Then your ass is the man who needs to step up. Or Eskridge, apparently. You know, like, somebody's going to have to step up, and Russell's going to look to you. Get it together. Stop getting chippy with defensive corners that have no names that nobody cares about. Like, holy crap. The whole, okay, and at the same time too, some of it is the NFL, and I'm getting sick and tired of this. Like, the NFL expecting players to be emotionless robots on the field after a play. Like, if a guy gets up and gets on the play and just tells the dude to go F himself or uses some vulgar racial slurs, I get it, flag the dude. But like, if he's just like pumped because of a play and just gets up and it's like, yeah, like, stop fucking flagging. That's so ridiculous. Like, there was so much of it this week, not only what happened in the Seattle game, but just across the league that was just absolute. One guy got flagged for spinning the ball after a catch in another team. Like, I'm sorry, I'm going off a random tangent. I want to give you guys time to too. But penalties, clean that shit up. Anything else? Russell needs to play a little bit better on the decision making. There was some bad play, especially, you know, as he mentioned, and Pete. I'm glad Pete called him out. I wish Russell calls Pete out. That'd be great too, for his terrible defensive play. But he's never going to, because that's just not Russell. But Russell needs to make better decisions that don't put us in the end zone in OT, you know, on a punt. But we got lucky that, you know, it almost was a safety. But anywho, I'll pass that off.
Okay, I want to play a game here. Matthew, how long has Derrick Henry been in the league?
I don't know, 6 years.
This is his 6th season. Before Ryan Tannehill got to Tennessee, how many 100-yard games did he have?
I don't know. How many?
2 in 3 years. Derrick Henry had 200-yard games in the next 3 weeks after Ryan Tannehill showed up, and then proceeded to lead the league in rushing in the next 2 years. It is not a coincidence that literally happened the day Ryan Tannehill showed up. Ryan Tannehill turned Derrick Henry into who Derrick Henry is. They had a threat as a quarterback, and that opened everything up. Derrick Henry cannot do this himself. He is not the best player on this team. There is no evidence to support that. I will give you another number here. I'll tell you in order of EPA who was the worst players for Tennessee. T. Hudson was the worst player. The next worst player was Nicholas, who had 1 touch. The next worst player was G. Swaim, and the next worst player was Derrick Henry. He was the 4th worst Tennessee player when he had the ball.
I am just going to stop you. You're not going to convince me.
I know you're not.
Touchdowns and 182 yards speaks for itself. I don't need to say anything. Those numbers speak for itself.
That is multiple numbers. They were more fit per touch. Ryan Tannehill was 4 times more effective than Derrick Henry. They ran it too
Now,
many times.
I will say that Julio Jones touchdown was a touchdown. As someone who's a fantasy owner, that was a touchdown.
What I will tell you is the Tennessee Titans suck at calling NFL games. I was listening to another podcast. They literally made fun of Tennessee. They said they were incredibly lucky that Seahawks shot themselves in the foot because how they called this game had no business winning. They handed the ball to Derrick Henry too many times to win this game. They were terrible at it in the first half. That's why they were down, because Derrick Henry could not do this. The only effective thing they were doing all game was throwing the ball, because Ryan Tannehill is really good at throwing the football. He graded very well. He was better than Russell Wilson. Tennessee was undoubtedly better than Seattle. Seattle was very lucky in the first half to be where they were. There was a couple fluke plays. Julio Jones dropping a pass. That never happens. He dropped a first down. That's points. I would say he's out, but you're right, Matthew. At the very least, we're talking like an eighth of an inch. And that's a touchdown. That's it. Like we've already lost in regulation. Like they missed a kick. Like we're talking like a bunch of points here that that Tennessee just left on the table because they turn and try to force feed Derrick Henry, who's getting 1 yard to carry in the first half.
Also, Chris Carson getting a first down that he didn't make.
Yeah, but like they ran it too much. They were very bad at it. And then to Kevin's point, which was correct, this is all Seattle. Seattle let Derrick Henry do this thing because Jamal Adams and Diggs screwed that 70-yard play up 100% of the time. That was horrible angles. That was embarrassing. And as two guys who want to get paid and one who did, hand back $3 million to the team because that was embarrassing on that individual play. The other thing is like they had two linemen go out. Vrabel is so stubborn on running this football that you stack that box. I get it that they have two monster receivers, but you have to be like, look, I dare you to throw this ball with backup linemen in here. I'm going to bring pressure. You have to do that at that point and then guess what they did? Tennessee just kept handing the ball off. And I'm like, guys, like, yeah, you let that happen, Seahawks defense. You screwed that up. Your game plan and your players screwed that up. You knew they were going to do one thing with one player with backup players, and you let them do it. That's all you had to do. Just stack the box and you win the game. And they couldn't even do that. I will say that the offense isn't totally void of blame. Kevin is right. DK with the penalties and some Jamal Adams with the roughing like all this stuff. Like it was just all the plays. I felt like they were really stupid. I get the roughing the passer; those things happen, but there was just some other penalties where it was just like super sloppy and it kept happening and it didn't need to happen. And I'm like, guys, you're shooting yourselves in the foot. You're shooting yourselves in the foot. You're giving Tennessee a chance. Tennessee gave you all the chances in the first half. They converted nothing. They took advantage of nothing. So your response, Sal, is not give them the opportunities back.
They did.
The first week, it was great. They did a lot of things. They could have even done neutral passing more, but they were still above league average. This week, they were terrible. Like, stop running on first down. Your average length on third down was almost 8 yards a pop. 3rd and 8 is bad for any quarterback. That's bad for Mahomes. That's bad for Russell. That's bad for the best quarterback of all of time. 3rd and 8 is not good. You don't constantly want to be 3rd and 8. That's why you're like 2 for 9, 3 for 9, because it's hard to constantly convert 3rd and 8s when the defense knows you're going to pass on 3rd and 8. Like it's still really hard. Like, so the Seahawks kept running, getting nothing, and then being like, we're really back on our heels. It's the Minnesota Vikings thing. It's run into a line twice, get 2 yards, and be like, crap, now we got to get a first down. Like, stop setting yourself up for this, or stop early rushing, or stop making early fancy things, and just play to use all of your downs and stop trying to get them all on one down, Russell. Like, I think this is a combo of a couple of people's mistakes. I haven't seen all the coaches' film because we don't have it, but I've seen some people who work with the industry and they'll show some things. There were some people who were open, like DK was open a couple times, that sticks. Things like there were some things, but we didn't use tight ends at all. So that makes me believe we reverted to last year's game plan. And unfortunately, Matthew, that the last year's game plan means Pete Carroll was there because Shane Waldron wasn't there. But I will say Shane Waldron needed to scheme up a couple other things, because when the jet sweep isn't working, stop calling it. Or when other things are either working or not, you need to go with what's, because Mina Kimes said that on ESPN actually today. She said the things that are working doesn't make sense to stop doing it. And a couple of the players that were on there said that for some reason coaches do that all the time. It's something's working, they stop doing it because they think it won't keep working. We'll keep doing it till it stops working. A lot of Seahawks plays were broken coverage plays that they kind of got lucky on. Swain scored on a play that you can't count on that play ever happening again. That's never going to happen. So like some fluky offensive plays, the offense does make me a little worried. Like they look lost at times, other than a couple broken plays and Tyler just being a freaking beast. If Tyler's not beasting and they're doubling him right now, they look lost. They need to get the middle of the field stuff. You need to I get the deep passes, sell it and all that stuff, but they showed you last year, guys. DK, you made this comment. You cannot just run deep pass. And if Shane Waldron's calling some things, because they were showing some guys were open in the middle, like Russ, Pete, we all three, you need to get in the room and be like, look, we've got to get on pace on to nip this in the butt now, because we can't revert back to last year, because people figured us out last year. We have to use the tight ends. The tight ends, remember, Kevin, how much, and Matthew, how much fun that was when Gerald Everett running down the middle of the field was open, scoring touchdowns. Like Will Disley's catching like 6 passes. It was so much easier for Tyler. It was DK. Like you have to open that up with that stuff. So we went away from it. Russell got a lot of big plays early, and that was nice, but Tennessee cleaned it up. And then you've got to take what they give you, Seahawks offense. Take what they freaking give you. I would say it was 70-30 defense's fault for this game. You had one job, defense. You had one job and one person to stop, because Vrabel was going to be stubborn as all get out and hand the ball to Derrick Henry. If you had set 8 guys up there in the box, 9 guys up there in the box, and then Vrabel passes a bunch, then good on Vrabel. But he's never shown you in multiple years that he's ever going to do that. And until he does that, you can't give him the benefit of the doubt. Stop the one guy he's going to force feed. And instead you backed up. And like Kevin said, they backed up and then they let Derrick Henry catch the most passes of his NFL career in a game. That's the most passes he's ever caught in a game, because you just left him.
Nobody in the middle.
Not only were you not focusing on him, they just left him. That's how bad you were. And then Matthew, if you're right and he's the best player, then fire everybody. Because if he's the best player on that team, they completely forgot about him. And Pete Carroll's in charge of that defense. I wouldn't say he's like Ken Norton's a puppet, but Pete Carroll calls defenses. Like, because the head coach usually calls one or the other. He doesn't call offensive plays. So like you had one guy to cover and you didn't even cover him. Look at all his passes. There's no one within like 5 yards of him, because he's not a great catcher of the ball. So if you have anybody anywhere near him, he's not going to catch it, but he's just running free, getting 9 yards a pop every time. It was frustrating. It was one of the most frustrating games.
You guys, you made some good points. You had to stop one guy, the best player, Derrick Henry, and you didn't do that. I would say the defense does deserve quite a bit of blame. I wanted to see the offense step on their throat when they had that lead. That's what I wanted, and they just couldn't do it, which is disappointing. I'm not saying the defense doesn't deserve blame. I think offense, defense, special teams, everything deserves blame in this game. But if we're playing the blame game, you guys want to blame the defense, I'll blame the offense. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Got to clean it all up. So let's talk about the rest of the NFC West, who all won. So Los Angeles Rams won 27-24 on the road in Indianapolis. Arizona won 34-33 against Minnesota, and San Francisco won 17-11 against Philadelphia on the road. So, I mean, looking at the rest of the NFC West, they also didn't play as well as they did the first week. Granted, the NFC West still looked pretty good. Kyler's a freak of nature. Probably should have lost that game, but like the UFC, don't leave it in the hands of the judge. Don't leave it in the hands of your kicker. I think that's kind of what we learned here today. The Rams, they got a test. And if Carson Wentz has 2 good ankles, who knows what happens there. And then San Francisco, I mean, they just had running backs go down and go down and go down.
That injury bug has not left that team from last year. They cannot catch a freaking break.
Now, luckily, Philly they scored 33 points against Atlanta, but San Francisco is a much different beast. So that defense, even with that injury from last week, it's kind of hard to tell if it's Philly being bad or San Francisco being good. I'm gonna give it probably benefit of the doubt there. I'll call it a push, and we'll see what week 3 brings, because
That
they
was
did give up
a
33 points to Jared Goff too.
that was a dumb game. That was a really dumb
Yeah.
game.
So
49ers and Eagles was stupid.
So of the teams that look best outside the NFC West, I will hand it to you guys. The Rams did look the best. They did get a scare though. If Carson Wentz, if Jacob Eason does go out there, could have been a different story. Now, do they win? I don't know. But the Cardinals, Kyler Murray's crazy plays aside, Kirk Cousins should exploit that defense as well as Dalvin Cook. So they got to clean up that defense a little bit, but that offense looks really good.
Kirk Cousins is good at football,
He's okay. And then San Francisco, Jimmy G is played well enough to win, so I think he's going to keep Trey Lance on the bench until he loses. They don't have any running backs, so I think Trenton Cannon is the next man up, depending on if Trey Sermon can play. I think Elijah Mitchell is out now. I think Jermichael Hasty's out now. So looking at the rest of the NFC West, I think that the Rams look the best. Just cover Cooper Kupp. People in Washington know to cover Cooper Kupp. Cover Cooper Kupp. That man, just people forget about him, and he's like, oh, he's behind me, and he scored a touchdown. Cover Cooper Kupp.
It's scheme, isn't it beautiful?
Yeah.
To watch.
Robert Woods will do the same too.
So. I mean, that you've got to pick one, and it's hard.
But they it was a close game. And if Carson Wentz has a body that can hold up, who knows what changes. But what do you guys think, Sean?
Looking at it, I just realized all according to EPA and all that stuff, all 4 NFC West quarterbacks are next to each other, 5 through 8. Stafford, Garoppolo, Wilson, and Murray. So they're all playing pretty well right now. I didn't get a chance to watch most of these games. I was listening to some nerd podcasts talk about this game. They hated the 49er game because they both ran way too much. They ran 120 plays and they passed for I had it here. They passed for combined 50 times. So they basically doubled the runs that they did the pass or close to it. It was super stupid. They just ran too many times. Neither team was like, we don't want to pass. Are you going to pass? Are you? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo dropped back 30 times and passed for 180 yards. It's terrible. It's
just their game plan, though. That's just what they do.
6 yards of completion. That's terrible. But that's what I'm saying. That's not a winning formula, but I still think the 49ers they didn't have to go all out again. They're not we're in desperate need so I think I'm a little worried if once they get to full board and they're really healthy and going, but the problem is the 49ers, each game they play, they lose 3 guys for the year. So at a certain point by week 17, they'll be calling Kevin to be a running back. So, and Kevin will still probably average 4 yards a carry. I don't know. It's the 49ers.
Kevin asked for a little more than the vet minimum, though, because they'll pay it. I'm sure they will.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I was the running back for the Seahawks during the Eddie Lacy.
When Mikhail Hasty comes off the bench and averages 7.6 a carry in multiple carries. I mean, I don't know what witchcraft he runs up there, but it just does it. I don't get it. But yeah, the 49ers look solid. The old saying of this is why they play the game. It is why they play the game when it comes to the Colts and the Rams. The Colts will only be held back by their quarterback play. If they had a better quarterback, they'd probably win that game. But the problem is yes, Wentz is better than Eason. That's not saying a whole lot, but Colts do have some talent. I mean, on offense, they've got some talent. They got a pretty decent O-line. When healthy, they're still a little licked up, but when healthy, their defense, they still have some players. They're not a terrible team, so you can't take them lightly. So the Colts put up a fight. It's any given Sunday. It's the NFL. And yeah, the Arizona Cardinals were a little lucky to win that game when another Minnesota kicker misses a field goal. It is what it is, but Minnesota is usually not a terrible team. I was thinking about this in the car while I was driving because I got to drive a lot for work. Minnesota is just a couple years behind who Seattle is. Minnesota was now Kirk Cousins isn't Russell. Like he's a couple tiers below, but he's still a good quarterback. But the problem with that team is they do the same thing. They're way too conservative and they run it too much. They had a good defense, but that defense is now aging out. And then the hole in the offensive game plan is now showing, and they're running it too much, and it's biting them butt. Like Kirk Cousins started that game and was killing Arizona, and then they're like, "Here's 30 carries," and I'm like, "What?" Kirk Cousins was killing. Okay, okay. Well, now Arizona's back in this game, guys. Like, what happened? Just keep feeding Kirk Cousins. He threw like 4 passes and had 2 touchdowns. I was like, just keep throwing the football. Arizona's like, just every time they were showing a game break, people are just running on the sideline for Minnesota. I'm like, keep throwing it. Like, why would you stop throwing it? You're doing it. And then at the end of the day, you're like, Dalvin Cook has as many rushes as Kirk Cousins has passing. And I'm like, maybe that's why you lost. I'm like, I don't know. Like, if it's like Mina kind of said, if it's working, keep doing it till they stop it. And they never stopped Kirk Cousins. So, but it's Kyler Murray still looks really good. He's making a couple little silly mistakes, but that's going to be Kyler Murray's, I think, MO for the rest of his career. But as long as his mistakes are limited and he just makes some of those crazy plays and rolls out. And Moore did score at 77 yards, but I don't know if you guys saw it. Kyler made a great play, and then Minnesota's defense forgot to cover him. There was no one within 30 yards of him. So, and then he ran for a touchdown untouched. So Minnesota had their chances, but AJ Green scored. That's terrifying if he's like not a dinosaur anymore.
Having fantasy, you shouldn't be worried.
Well, I mean,
he didn't really do a whole lot.
He beat the guy one-on-one too. Like it was here's your 9 yards out, catch it, and then you just like beat him one-on-one, and he did. Like
he's still AJ Green. I
was gonna say dinosaur people who are retirement and gonna take him out back and like look at the flowers. They don't do that. And so I'm like, well, AJ Green still got, what I'm saying is AJ's still got a little bit of something in there. And if you can get a little bit of talent from AJ Green with those other guys, that's a pretty good number 3 or 4 receiver on a team. So I'm just saying, like, Arizona is not looking terrible, Matthew.
I know. Kevin?
Yeah, let's say Kyler Murray is in the week 2 MVP race.
Oh my goodness.
That's always just
everybody's like, oh, who's the MVP right now? I'm like, it's been 2 weeks. I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Isn't it like Matthew, isn't it like the NCAA college football rankings? Why even give them like till like week 7? There's no point. Agree, yeah. There's no point until week 7.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Kyler Murray's been playing great. Like,
yeah.
I'm not trying to say he's not.
MVP races in week 2 are stupid.
Yeah. But like it's week 2 of now a 17-week season. Like, calm the fuck down. But anywho, okay, let's start with the Rams game. If Carson Wentz doesn't go out there, that's probably Colts win. And see, like UW fans, you wanted Eason here. And then his first play, he throws towards Jalen Ramsey's side and throws a pick. Like, that's your first play. Like, I got balls of steel. I'm going to throw out one of the best corners in the game. Oh, it got picked. Like, are you dumb? Like, there's a reason why good quarterbacks like Rodgers don't throw to Sherman's side because they know that, like,
I just will say when he got hurt, the Rams still had an 80% chance of winning that game. Let's just be very clear here.
Yeah, I know. I mean, they were
80.3% chance to still win.
The Seahawks had a 94% chance to win at halftime, so that doesn't matter. But
yeah,
well, but that's you understand what the numbers mean, Matthew.
Mm-hmm. Nothing. Go ahead, Kevin.
No, they mean.
Anywho, ladies,
it is a number of what has happened.
But I just. From base what I saw from that game, it was a pretty back and forth. Like, luckily for the Colts, in after the 2022 season, you can cut Carson Wentz and have it make out pretty damn good. I was just looking at his contract because I was kind of curious. There's no dead cap if you cut him after 2022, so that's looking like it's probably going to be a thing, if they're smart. But yeah, because that team has got so much talent on it, and it's just being like Phillip Rivers. Had it been like Phillip Rivers like 8 years ago, that's a Super Bowl team. Mm-hmm. But you just got old ass Phillip Rivers, so unfortunately, what can you do? Or if Andrew Luck just doesn't retire, like Yeah.
That right
So,
there. Yeah.
Yeah, like God, like Andrew Luck, man, like they got like it's like they finally get you an O-line. Just be like, hey, can I come back? Because I guarantee you they'd be like, yes, come back. Like we have an O-line now.
Call him right
We will
now.
protect you. Like, oh, get yourself a ring, Andrew Luck. Shit. Yeah, the defense kind of got exposed a little bit. So honestly, the test is this week. And the fact that it's not even a primetime game is what's shot like Tampa Bay and the Rams is going to be the game to watch this week. Especially with Tampa Bay going as ape shit as they had. We'll see. Also to mention, transitioning into that for the 49ers, about with the Eagles, and what happened in the first week. Atlanta's defense sucks balls. It sucked balls for quite some time. It still sucks balls. And that's why the Eagles dropped 32 on them or 33 or whatever. And then dropped what they did against the 49ers, who have a really good defense. And also, yes, what Sean mentioned, the whole run, even though like film just shows that running doesn't win championships. But even the greatest college coach of all time, Nick Saban's like, yeah, running the ball doesn't win. Like, so
You can run it. That's not what analysts are saying. It's just like,
well, yeah,
at some point,
I'm
drop
not
back
saying
and throw the freaking football. Like,
yeah, I'm not saying passing the ball more is better. I'm not saying you have to run the ball, but at better times. Let's put it like that. So, in short, just because I don't want to be on this topic forever, but anywho, yeah, Niners kind of interesting to see what happens with that secondary and if that team stays healthy. It doesn't matter the running back, because once Wilson comes back from the pup, he will be the main running back, because he should be a starting running back on the team, because he's very good, because he just shits on everybody every time he actually does get a chance. Go look at the numbers. It's nutty. I don't know how he's not a starting running back for a team, even for the 49ers, probably because he was hurt this year. I don't know, but he is super good. Anywho, yeah, they should pass more too, because Deebo Samuel is a beast, and also so is Asante Samuel. Like, and that Great Kill guy. I hear Great Kill is good. Just saying, you have the best tight end in the game. Well, you don't need to use him. Shit. So I mean, hey, if they want to just run the ball against, well, actually, if they run the ball against us, we'll probably lose, because apparently we just do that.
when Tennessee just lines up and like, we're gonna hand the ball off. Seattle's like,
dude,
I wonder what they're gonna do.
I guarantee you the 49ers after that game are just like, Shanahan's just like, oh God, yes, I know what to do against Pate this year. Like, I'm just gonna run that ball because he's stupid and doesn't know what to do. So where are we at? Arizona. Yeah, that was an interesting game. Makes me kind of scared for next week, depending on you have two old dumb coaches like pretty much like just run the ball. Let's see who's dumber. Yeah, that's gonna be and we'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, no, Kyler Murray looks really good. That defense being, we'll see. They kind of had the question, the problems I thought with the secondary area. As we mentioned, when they threw the ball, it was working, just because I knew the front seven for Arizona was going to be good. It's just the secondary was the question mark after all the people that left. And like I said, it's week 2, so I'm not going to say their secondary sucks. They're going to make adjustments. We also learned in week 2, to the fans that forgot, tape is a good thing. Tape shows, and you saw this week that tape actually makes a big difference. And it showed this week. So with more tape comes more cleanup. Yeah. So I'll leave it at that.
All right. Well, we got about 5 minutes left, so let's talk about week 3. Seattle traveling to Minnesota for a 1:25 p.m. game on Fox. Thank goodness the CBS app was just absolutely awful on my Xbox for some reason. So thank goodness it's on Fox. As we know, the Vikings lost last week to the Cardinals. Then they are 0-2, losing to the Cincinnati Bengals in overtime in week 1. We know about the Seahawks, so I'm going to try and make this quick since we're running out of time. Russell usually bounces back after a loss.
The
I
best
fully
record of all time.
Huh?
The best record of all time with I think 30 starts. Best highest winning percentage after a loss.
I think he only has 2. I think he only has 2 losses after a loss in his whole career.
But yeah, so that being said, I think he will bounce back. I think this offense will be better. They've scored 30 and 28, so I'm hoping they just pedal to the metal, just score. I really hope they kind of take it to this Minnesota defense who has given up 27 to Joe Burrow and 33 to Kyler Murray. You could definitely score on this defense. The defense of the Seahawks is going to be the biggest question mark. Like you guys said, are they going to try and stop Dalvin Cook? Can they stop Kirk Cousins and those 2 wide receivers that they have? And also, they've also got another guy, their 3rd wide receiver. I forget his name, is playing pretty well actually as well. So they'll get a test, that defense. But I think the defense will play better. And once again, like I said with the Titans, I do feel like this will be a shootout here as well. I think both defenses are going to. I don't feel like torched is the right word, but I don't really have a better word. So I'm going to say torched because there will be a lot of points in this game, I think. I think you'll see a similar score to Arizona, Minnesota. I called a shootout in the Tennessee game. It's pretty much right, except for the way it went for a shootout. So I'm going to stick with that based on what I've seen these 2 teams the last 2 weeks. I'm going to say Seattle 38. Minnesota 35. But I will caveat with the way they played and gave up that lead against Tennessee. I'm nervous. I'm nervous for this game because, 1 and 2, you could probably hit the panic button with the schedule that's coming up. But I think they bounce back and get a win. Sean?
I'll say Seattle wins. I'm going to please, you're listening, obviously Seahawks head coaches and all that stuff. They're going to run Dalvin Cook. And what you should do is try to stop Dalvin Cook because Zimmer is just as stubborn as Vrabel. And he's going to force feed that guy even if the game's out of hand and everything. And if you let him start going, then the game's going to open up because they will not go Kirk Cousins first, then Cook. And if they do, kudos and let him do it because he's never done it before because they were doing it this week and then they stopped doing it. So stop Dalvin Cook and you'll win the game. Because Zimmer will not give the ball to Kirk Cousins. I say that looking at the numbers, Seattle's got the 19th most efficient defense and Minnesota's got 21st. Where the advantage is Seattle's so much more efficient on offense. So you got to let Russ cook. If you let him cook early, and what I mean by early is not early in the game, but on 1st and 2nd down, you can throw the ball more or do more tricky things rather than just line up and hand it to Chris Carson every time. I know, Kevin. I know. The early down EPA for Seattle this week was terrible.
I don't believe you. You can do that? Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah. Stop lining it. Stop on 1st and 2nd down. Just blindly. If the team's going to give it to you and they're playing really far back like Seattle was against Tennessee, go for it. Hand it to Chris Carson. But if this defense is telling you we're going to stop Chris Carson like they were, just throw the ball. Just throw the ball early, please. And it'll be so much better like the Indy game. So Pete, Shane, Russell, get in the room together. Let's figure this thing out. Use your tight ends, please. And then I say Seattle wins 31-17. I think it's big.
All right. Kevin?
To elaborate earlier on kind of what I was saying, we're going to see a clash of 2 old idiots. Run the ball. Oh, I'm going to run the ball. No, I'm going to run the ball. It's going to who runs the ball more to their defeat. Yeah, it's so they actually said a stat last week that in week 1 we were the 2nd highest ratio team in the league to run it on 1st down. Pete Carroll, that's not a good thing. It means you're predictable. So that's bad. You don't want to be predictable. I know that's like
It's like teaching AP calculus to a baby. But I could draw it in crayon with some stick figures. We could do charades, something like, I don't know. But this game is going to be interesting because I have a feeling there will be spots where Kirk Cousins can get the ball, and then we're going to find out once again that Minnesota's receivers are very talented. Like Thielen, Jefferson, and that new kid are very, very talented. And they're going to make that secondary look very, very bad. But yeah, if they're going to do what, as Sean said, if they're going to run the ball, you got to stop it. Don't be dumb. Don't let them have them check downs in the middle to where nobody's there for like 8 yards, like to where there's like a big giant target in like hole in the void to where they're just, what I call Philip Riversing, because Philip Rivers was the first one to do it to us to where they did check downs back in 2014 where they just scorched the crap out of us for 8 yards of carry. I think but here's the good news, kids. 12, man, we're going to win. Mainly because one, the Vikings are the Tampa Bay Rays to the Seahawks, as what the Tampa Bay Rays are to the Mariners this year. We slap the crap out of them. Every time we just do it. Even though it's always close, we always win. I don't know what, well, except for that one time when they were playing in the University of Minnesota and Doug Baldwin was just having a heyday and we just put it down their throats. That was just
that was the who was the running back? That was Rawls' breakout game, and then he broke his leg.
Yeah,
and he was like, "Oh, I'm here." And then broke his leg. It was never the same. Yeah.
And then they were like, "Oh, that was like the season where we figured out like, oh, Russell could like cook like." Because he's like, okay, Rawls is out. I'm just gonna chuck it to Doug Baldwin, and then Doug Baldwin's gonna have almost 200 yards and 3 touchdowns because he's a really good receiver. Like, and they're just like, wait, what? The Seattle's throwing the ball? I thought they were gonna just run it to their backup, And then that's when we saw the beauty of Russell Wilson. Even though we kind of knew it was there, we got it to see it in. Yeah. So thank you, Minnesota. But we just have this weird thing where we just beat them. But recently, it's always been close, and I think like it's gonna be like that. I have a prediction. I have a feeling going like into like 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I have a feeling it's going to be like by a field goal range, like 28, 20, like Hawks on top. And then like Minnesota's going to screw something up, and then we're going to get a touchdown and then be up by like 11. And then the final drive is going to be Kirk Cousins trying to get something back, garbage time. Nothing happens. So I'm going to say the final score is 35-27.
All right. Let's do quick NFC West predictions. So I'll just read off the games, and I'm going to throw out winners. So Arizona at Jacksonville, Tampa Bay at Los Angeles Rams, Green Bay at San Francisco. Taking the Cardinals.
Let's all just say Cardinals.
Cardinals.
I'm taking Brady, although I'm not confident in it in LA. Either of you?
Okay. I want to talk about.
I say Brady.
So we got to go quick. We're running out of time here, Kevin.
Okay. I'm scared of Tampa Bay right now because they finally figured out. Because last year the main problem was they wanted to run the ball, and then Tom Brady this year is like, hey, we have 3 number 1 receivers and a Hall of Fame tight end, and they don't know how to cover it, and that's what they're doing this year. They're just like, you can cover those 2 guys. We're going to throw it to Antonio Brown and Rob Gronkowski, who are very, very good. And they're just going to continue to do it until a defense figures out how to stop it, which I don't think will happen. Tampa Bay looks scary as hell. I take Tampa Bay all day in this game. The only way is if Aaron Donald gets home a lot, and I mean a lot, to get Tom Brady off his game.
He could.
Which could happen.
So
but
Tampa
if he
Bay,
doesn't, I take Tampa Bay by more than 10.
Okay. Yeah. And then Green Bay at San Francisco. I'm taking Aaron Rodgers. I think that defense is banged up, and I think Rodgers is gonna get them.
This will be this will be the closest NFC West game. This will be
Sunday Night Football, by the way.
Because that 49er defense is not hurt other than one person, so they're legit. They're gonna punch the Packers in the mouth. The question is, can that offense punch anybody in the mouth? They just don't have any
And
running backs
I mean-
left. They just have nobody in the backfield right now.
Running backs don't matter, Sean.
They don't, but literally, you have to
That's-
have somebody to play the position at some point. Like
No, you can throw you out there. Doesn't
I mean,
matter.
wait, is the fullback healthy?
Matthew, that is not what running backs don't matter means.
No, that's what that means.
Whatever. If the fullback's there, he'll be the main guy probably.
All right, I'm taking Packers. Sean, what do you got?
Man, Kevin, go. I'm still thinking.
It's gonna be Niners because Aaron Rodgers doesn't like being punched in the mouth. We saw it week 1 with the Saints defense.
Kevin, I
getting
thought
all
about
up
that
in his
again
crap.
today. Like you're just saying like things like, "Hey guys, when people don't like unperfect conditions." Yeah, everybody doesn't like, and no one likes to get hit in the abs
But
15
I'm
times a
saying
game. Like,
when Aaron Rodgers goes against good defensive lines like Tampa Bay, like the Saints, and like 49ers, he struggles.
when good quarterbacks play against good defenses, they play less good. Yeah, I get it.
No, like he struggles hard. Like though, I mean, you saw it week 1.
Sean, who
He
you got?
didn't score a damn thing.
That was a complete fluke, man. Like you don't think he's going to score 3 points against good defenses his career? Come on. Flip a coin. You both picked one. I was going to.
Scored only 10 against Tampa Bay, and he shit the bed in the second half last year because they have the best front 7 in football.
Packers. So because I'll pick Packers. So because Aaron Rodgers had a bad half, like that's over. Like, come
No,
on.
I'm saying like when he gets sacked, he gets frustrated. It's the
He kicked
Cam
shit
Newton
out
thing.
of the Packers in the second half in the playoff game, and they lost because LaFleur kicked the goddamn field goal.
Sure. I mean, like I said,
He dumped down their throat for 15 for the entire
he's
second half.
he's like Cam Newton to where he's very emotion based on how he plays.
I don't know.
His emotions affect him too much.
All right. Well, we will see how it plays out on Sunday. Go ahead and tweet at us your predictions. I'm at Beatty Matt. Sean's at Sean Betty. Kev's at Kev's Believe. Adversity and Believe being a 3. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you think of the prediction for your Seahawks Vikings score and the rest of the NFC West. Next week, we've got one more week after next week for the Mariners. Then we'll do our Mariners wrap-up show and hopefully our Seahawks
Wait, are you
conversation.
sure? Are you sure?
Whoa!
Well-
You say they're not making the playoffs, boy? Huh?
I've got 20 years of history on my side. I'm not worried. So
that
let's.
doesn't have anything
Numbers
to do
don't
with this
matter
year.
though.
That doesn't have anything to do with it.
Numbers don't matter. I thought.
I mean, wins and
I'm
losses
just
do.
playing
So.
2011 doesn't mean anything for 2021.
But yeah, let us know what you think of me just counting the Mariners out right there. Go ahead and leave us a comment or tweet at myself. And then yeah, we'll have our Mariners wrap-up show whenever that happens. And then hopefully we'll have a more positive conversation about the Seahawks next week. But until next time, Kevin, I'm playing you in fantasy. Good luck. You're going down. We will see you.
Probably if Josh Jacobs is out.
That's fair. That's fair. We will see you next time on Washington East to West Sports.